Comics is posting at 7 p.m. his
Oh,
Are we live?
yeah, we're live.
All right, never mind.
But go on. Tell us what you were. Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. This is BUB'S Comics coming at you with the No Faces Comic Chat. I really wanted Roger to say our name tonight. Roger, can you read our name there? Can you tell who we are?
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. The No Faces Comic Chat with the Unbagged, Unboarded Floppies.
What? That's our name tonight? I don't know about that. I'm going to refuse to pick names, and that way I can continue to criticize the ones we have.
See, I was thinking just the opposite. My whole point with this name was to try and find something so absolutely offensive to you that you would be forced to pick a name for next week.
All right, well, this one's not bad. You need to go a little deeper in the doldrums. And,
Wow. Man, DS, you have really high standards for us, buddy.
He's got rock hard nerves in the stomach too to match, so he can handle that one. I felt bad just typing it out.
I don't even want to tell you how I felt voicing it out.
We got HME3 in the chat already. We've got Pages, Films, and Plastics. We got Gomez, the comic collector. They're rolling in, so we'll go ahead and get going. Thank you all for being here. Give a like or a thumbs up, or I don't know how any of that works, or just don't. It's fine. That's the go-to geeks. Probably Lawrence, Probe 186, hailing from the big NYC. I mentioned this in my last video that I'm sure neither Roger nor DS watched. And actually, I think they both.
I saw it. I saw it.
On the 25 random comics from our collection. And I had mentioned that I was tagged by one of the people that tagged me in that was Probe 186. And I love his videos because I can hear New York in the background and it makes me feel like I'm home again, to that home back then. So it's pretty cool. I like to hear it.
Yeah, I grew up there, and I didn't live in the city, but up north, and especially in some of those northern cities, it's very loud if you're anywhere near the first floor. So I totally got what you were saying there. Yeah,
I don't mind it so much. I do watch a lot of videos in my car. I have probably about a 45-minute drive in and out of work each day.
Ooh.
So that's plenty of time to catch usually, I don't know, 10 videos if they're short, or like half of one of Roger's.
Bub is always riling me on that. And on his 25 collection, it went more than double mine. Right? And so what's his excuse? Well, I got to give people what they want to hear. And I'm like, but what are you saying? I don't give any. I'm only hearing what I want to hear when I talk. That's what he's intimating.
Well, if you add up the total time on videos, Bub's got you beat. If you add up total video time,
yeah,
not even contest.
It's one of those things. It's like he knows he's guilty, so in order not to admit it, he finds a scapegoat, and that's me.
You're welcome. Everybody's got to be something.
Yeah, well, you do that very well.
I tell you one thing I was thinking too is that when I listen to your videos, whenever you have, I can always tell when you're doing like one of these tag videos or support videos, and it's going to be a big video like that was, 25, or when you did your 50 comics. I'm always like carefully moving my comics in and out, and I take time to kind of get ready. I organize them and I have them ready to go. I'm sure you organize them too before the video, but like during the video, I can always hear you throwing your comics down from like a 2-story window into a bin your wife is holding outside or something. I don't know what's going on, but I hear them slam, just slam. I constantly hearing all those books just slamming, like after every book you show, you like drop the mic. And that's
well, I bag two comics per bag and board, so they are heavier than normal, and I have a little footstool here, and that's what you usually hear them hit when I put them down.
I see. Well, I save my poor viewers the ear break, and I don't do that. See, that's what happens. So it takes me longer, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Keep going. The violin is ready.
All right, I give up. Yeah, it was a long one. 21 minutes or something for 25 comics. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I do all my videos on my phone, and my phone will only record 15 minutes of video. So it forces me to limit all my videos to 15 minutes or under. And it's been a couple times where my phone has said reached recording limit, and it just stops. And I know I only have like a minute left of video, and I have to redo the whole thing. So I keep it under 15 because that's the limit on my phone. So.
Wow. I didn't know that phones still had limits like that. Do you have to flip your phone to turn it off?
No, I'll tell you, I'm low tech. I know you think I'm high tech. I might be low mid tech, but I had a Motorola Razr that I bought myself for Christmas the year it came out, which is, I don't know, what is that, like 2005 or something? I don't even know. The Motorola Razr was like the high tech phone at the time. I bought that, and I kept it working and using for so many years that people were starting to send emojis and pictures, and it wasn't showing up on my phone. I had trouble loading websites on that little screen because the technology was far advanced for that phone, but I still used it. And eventually the speaker broke where I would talk into it and nobody could hear anything, and that forced me to get a new phone. And what I got was a Samsung Galaxy, which I still have. So I think I had one in between, but I've got a Galaxy like S5. So this phone is like 5 years old right now. Yikes. So I still get a lot of stuff from you, Bub, where you'll type an image or an emoji or something, and it just has that little rectangles. So I can't even see what it is. But I will keep this phone in good working condition until it literally breaks apart in my hands before I get a new one.
Now we know how he can afford all those nice, golden age keys.
Yeah, well, Mrs. DS told me, I was like, man, I really need to get another pair of jeans. And she's like, well, why don't you get a pair? I'm like, no, because then I'll have less money for comics. And she said, she's like, you got to get pants. And I said, all right, well, I'll take a couple bucks out every week for a pants fund, but really, I need this money for grails. So
I can just see DS, walking around his neighborhood in a robe and just long underwear. I mean, that would be just off the top. Too
yeah, so I'm very serious about my money when it comes to spending on comics. Now we have our money that we spend on what we need to spend it on, but I'm able to squirrel away a little bit from my paycheck for myself, and I make some deals and whatnot. But that's like my separate money, and I am very careful not to spend that on anything else for myself except comics unless it's absolutely necessary. And I have 2 pair of pants. That's enough for now. So
you only got 2 legs. I mean, what do you have?
Well, I got a primary and I got a backup, and I alternate them and I wash them often. And if one of them tears in the groin or something, I'll be forced to go buy another pair of pants. Oh my God. But I would much rather have this terrific number 5 than an extra pair of pants. So I mean, you got to have your priorities straight, right?
Oh, I love it. You can go to Goodwill. They got comics at Goodwill, so you can walk in. If they don't have any comics, maybe you flip out a pair of pants.
Well, I've got a few bucks saved up. I'll be able to get a pair of pants here in a couple weeks. So
a couple weeks.
This is like it's like a reverse budget. It's not the budget that I have for clothes. It's whatever's left over from the comics. I'll use on the clothes.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome. I love it. That's dedication right there.
Yeah, you got me beat. I thought I was I thought I was a cheapskate and a half, but I think you got me. I think you got me on the pants part. I have at least 10 pair.
Yeah, I've got 2 rock solid pairs of jeans, and that's it.
Wow, cool.
Wow. I wish I had to buy a pair of pants just to go to Comic-Con. I didn't have a tuxedo to wear. Not a white jacket with black pants. So I went ahead and bought a tuxedo. And
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, my wife was like, she thought I was gonna get like, I think she said, the kind of tuxedos that they put on kids for like picture day, where like has like it's just the front of a tuxedo.
The t-shirt
has,
tuxedo
like, in the back, yeah. It has like Velcro in the back so it can be sized to anyone, And but I bought a legit tuxedo and had it ordered and then custom. And she would come in. So when it came in, she was like, I didn't think it was going to be a real tuxedo. And I was like, well, like the cost difference was like pay like, I don't know, $75 for a costume tuxedo or like $130 for a real tuxedo. And I figure I won't not get much use out of the costume. And a real one, hey, maybe we'll go to dinner sometime. You know, we'll overdress a few places.
Yeah, that's smart thinking there.
Hey, DS, you got an offer here in the chat. Evan,
I'm sorry. I'm looking at this dealer decided he was going to take tonight at 7 p.m. to post all the books from this collection he picked up. So I'm trying to watch those. So I've been ignoring the chat.
Evan I got an offer for you. He says he's got an abundance of pants, so he's willing to trade pants for comics.
Oh, I don't know. So I think that's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing this community how concerned they are about our wardrobes. To me, that just shows you the involvement and the passion of this community.
Well, I think we should have an AOK drive for DS and send him some pants.
Yeah, you're right.
Go ahead and put in the comment section what size you are, DS, and we'll go ahead.
We'll start a pant drive. Yeah, we'll start a pants drive.
Well, it works out all right. I actually get 3 days off a week from work because of my schedule, even though I get full-time hours. But then I have I'm part of the No Faces crew. I don't show my face, so obviously I'm not showing any part of me. So I can do videos without pants, and I can hang out in the house without pants.
Oh my God! Listen, the visual there is just too far afield for me right there, DS.
It's just not good. Yeah. I mean, the only thing we know of him is his little hairy gorilla arms that he puts in front of the camera every now and then. Which we're all guilty of that. But if the rest is like that, just keep it covered up, man. Good.
All right, happy to do so.
Pro 186 says he's going to be scouring garage sales for pants now for you, so that's nice. They're gonna hook you up, man. No worries.
All right.
So, saving all that money, you've been saying, tell us how it went at the con. I can't wait to hear. I know I sent you there looking for a couple for me. You came up empty and bought some for yourself. So I appreciate your friendship up to this point, although it's been less than fruitful.
All right. Well, I think the less than fruitful, I think, is a little unfair because the specs you gave me for the book is pretty tough to find that at a con. But I'll tell you, when I was there, I had Mrs. DS and myself to some extent, but especially her, looking for the book you wanted. And we found a few, and she would come over to me and say, hey, this dealer's got one of those that your friend wants. And I'd go over, and there was like a 7.0, there's an 8.5, there's like a 6.0. There's nothing in your price range or your grade range, but I did look for you. I mean, I was looking for myself and then that, and that was the only two things. So I didn't have a huge list. So yeah, I looked for you, but that was not fruitful. But yeah, that's the first con I've been to in like 20 years. I think the last time I went was like 1993 or something. And I went to one that was in upstate New York, and it wasn't like a major con, but it was it was at a convention type center, and it was just a bunch of tables, and people had comic books, and people had baseball cards and stuff like that. And it wasn't like they are today. Obviously, I don't even think cosplay was a word until about 10 years ago. But
yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. So they did do it, but it wasn't called that.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a couple local things when I was younger. And then, so now the first one I go to after all that time is the Baltimore Comic Con, and it was fantastic. I mean, I got to say, everybody that worked for the con did an excellent job of getting people in, staying organized. We really didn't have to wait in line that long. Everything was on time, well organized. They did a great job running that event, which is one thing I was worried about when big events are not run properly. It's a freaking disaster, as everybody knows. Concerts, conventions, anything like that.
Sure.
So yeah, we got in there, and I was blown away just by the amount of stuff and space, and it was just packed wall to wall. And so I just was trying to find some pre-code hard grails. I wasn't looking to pick up, 20, 30, 50 books, anything like that. I just wanted to find one or two nice big books. And so I was so worried that I would find something better later on and not be able to have the money for it, that I literally had the chart of the floor worth map of where all the dealers were, and I went sequentially up and down the rows looking at what they had, like sort of taking notes, and I did that for like 2.5 hours or something. Didn't buy anything, but I sort of whittled down who had what, and I missed out on one item. It was an LB Cole issue, Ghostly Weird. I can't remember the number, but I was going to buy that. When I went back, that one was gone, but I was like, all right, well, there's a couple other things. And the one I'm showing here, Terrific number 5, this dealer had this tucked away on the bottom rack in the corner, like underneath the counter, so you couldn't really see it, but I was sticking my head up around every corner, every inch. I didn't want to miss anything, any of the quote wall books. And so I saw this one. I asked him to look at it. We talked a little bit about it, and then he took it back, and I walked around some more, and I ended up coming back 3 different times. And the last time I was looking at it, and at this point, you know when you're going to make a big purchase, but you just haven't said you'll take it yet. That's the point I was at, and I'm holding the book, and I know I'm going to take it, but I'm just, it's a big purchase. And there's a guy next to me. He's like, let me see that. Let me see that. And I was like, well, hold on. I might buy this. And I'm looking at it, and he's sort of huffing and puffing. And so I'm like, yeah, all right, we've got a deal. So I took this book. The other guy was a little upset, so I think he was probably going to buy it. He seemed pretty serious about wanting to see this book in his hands. So I might have got it just in time. Didn't see any other really big pre-code horror Golden Age grails that were on my list, but found this one. And that just made my day. Once I got this, I had a whole different feeling. I was relaxed, and I was just chill, and I was ecstatic, and I sort of had a high from getting it. And so I walked around, and that's when I found that other book I showed in the video earlier. I've got it here, actually. Yeah, this one, Bingo Comics number 1. Super rare book, not super valuable, but just a really rare book. And I saw this on one of the dealer's walls behind them, and I'm like, let me take a look at that. And I just recognized this from a anthology I have of LB Cole covers, and so I recognized it, and I ended up getting a really good price on this. And this book is in really nice shape and super rare. And yeah, so that was pretty much it. I didn't really have any money left. And it was pretty exhausting. I was pretty beat. And once I got this Terrific number 5 in my hands, which is Alex Schomburg cover, just a absolute Golden Age grail here. I was pretty much done. I was spent. I was exhausted. And so me and the wife just decided, let's call it a day. We'll go get something to eat and sort of celebrate. And so we left at like, I don't know, it was like 4 o'clock. So I was really only there for, it opened at 10, maybe 5.5 hours, something like that, 5 hours. And it was exhausting. But yeah, really, really awesome time. I ran into Longbox Love Affair outside the convention when we were walking out, and I'm like, hey, I know this guy. Let me go say hi to him. He shows his face all the time in the videos. And so I went up and I was like, hey, what's up, man? And he looked at me like, who the hell are you? And I'm like, hey, it's DS Comics. I don't show my face, but this is me. And he's like, oh, hey, what's up? So we chatted
your hand?
Yeah, I held my hairy arm up there for him, and he recognized that. So yeah, I went over there and I said, hey, this is DS Comics. And he said, oh yeah, I recognize the arm. No, but yes, that was cool. I talked to him a little about his con experience, and we just chatted for a few minutes. And
that's hair right there. That's hair right there.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Italian, so it never stops growing.
Oh, paisan. Oh,
yeah.
I'm Cuban, so I don't know. Some Cubans have a lot, and some don't. That's weird, But Italians, yeah, usually you guys are hirsute, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that was my con experience. It was a really great time. It was sort of overwhelming. I don't have a lot of experience at cons, so I just sort of tried to come up with a system. But I probably would change a few things about how I hunt or what day. I would probably go on a Friday next year. I talked to a lot of the dealers about certain books and pre-code horror stuff, and there was stuff, yeah, I had this, I sold this yesterday, this was, whatever. So I think Saturday is probably not the best day to go if you're looking to buy big books. Friday is probably better. So, but yeah, it was a really great experience, and yeah, I picked up these 2 gems for my collection. So overall success, and it was a really fun time.
Yeah, that's that. When you texted me that terrific 5, I just about fell out of my chair.
Yeah, I think I was literally shaking when I was taking the picture for you because
I
I knew you would dig it, and I absolutely love it. So I was so excited to have this. This is great.
If people out there don't know, this is one of those books that was prominently shown in the Gerber guides, and because of the suspended lady there over that rotating spike, it was one of the most sought after books, even in the 80s. I remember it was sought because of Schomburg, and I believe it has L.B. Cole interior too.
Yeah, L.B. Cole, and then some guy named Bob Fujitani. You've probably heard of him too.
Sure,
he's a great artist. But
yeah,
I mean, obviously L.B. Cole is probably my favorite artist, but it's a Schomburg cover and L.B. Cole interior art, and yeah, it's a 2.5. I mean, I in my video I was like, yeah, I got a low grade one. I don't consider this a low grade of this book. I mean, for me, this is like a mid grade of this book because this book is so pricey and so hard to find that a 2.5 is better than I would have expected ever to own of this book. I mean, I would have been happy with like a 1.5, a 1.8, a 2.0 would have been great. This is a 2.5 off white to white, and it presents awesome. It looks great.
Yeah, the colors are nice and rich and deep, very very differentiated. Sometimes I've seen them that the yellow and the red are kind of like almost meshing, and this one has a really good color strike. The lady there, everything is very, very. I mean, yeah, just beautiful.
Yeah, this is a really great book, and it's an iconic image from the Golden Age, and Schomburg has arguably the best comic book covers of all time, and for this is probably, I mean, it's definitely in the top 5 of Schomburg covers ever. I mean, he's got some Cap America ones that are great. That Suspense 3 is my all-time grail. I put that ahead of this, but there's not too many. There are a couple Marvel mystery comics, but not many of them are ahead of this either. So this is a really, really top-notch book. It's a big boy book, honestly. It's a whole other level from anything else I really have in my collection, I think.
And it's one you just don't see because Continental was one of the lower flight publishers, so it probably didn't have a distribution like Marvel's.
Yeah, but they had some awesome stuff. That's why I brought this other one out that I picked up before the con, Suspense number 9. Suspense is a Continental title too, and I really love Continental titles, especially Suspense. Terrific. There's a few other ones that are really good, but Suspense is one of my favorite. I've got a couple of those now, so yeah, really, really good stuff. And these books are tough to find. So.
I like that other L.B. Cole that you showed too, the one that had a similar background to that Suspense. I thought that was pretty cool. They're very similar and yet, of course, different.
Right. Yeah, I think I've got that one here. You're talking about this one.
Yes.
Yeah, Shocking Mystery.
That's cool.
51. I've had this for several years. There's 2 Suspense comics that L.B. Cole did sort of a later homage to his previous cover. The other one I've shown in my videos is Startling Terror Tales 11, the pre-code horror book with the spider with the skull head. That's an homage to his image that he did on Suspense 8. And then the Shocking Mystery is sort of a cover swipe he did to his image on Suspense 9. So they're sort of like little mini sets. I like getting little sets like these, and I love L.B. Cole, obviously. So yeah, this is a really cool set to own.
Yeah, those are beautiful, vertical covers there. I mean, that's what I call them because, you look at them, it's like, well, is it coming at you or is it going away from you?
Yeah, and he's got another one that's like this, and it's in a children's themed book. I can't remember exactly what it is, Taffy or one of those funny animals or something. And it's not exactly like this, but it's got the blue and yellow. It's more of a sunburst than a spiral, but also another cool one. But
yeah, Cole is, I agree with you, man. I mean, with Cole and Schomburg, if you just had those 2 guys in the Golden Age, you're set. You're just set. You're talking about the 2, to me, the 2 preeminent cover artists in the Golden Age. You can say like I'm a big fan of Kelly Frias, but he didn't do that many covers.
No, he didn't do a whole lot. He did. He actually did some pulp covers that were pretty good.
Yeah, he did a lot of pulp.
But as far as comic covers, yeah, you're right. He really didn't do a whole lot of them.
Yeah, he did that Witchcraft 5, which is my all-time favorite.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book.
But you know, again, just the with these two, and you know, like the what is that the Contact Comics, the one with that kind of Flash Gordon spaceship that that Cole did. I mean, that is just the detail of that cover is just
yeah. You're talking one of the later issues that has all the swirling colors.
Yep.
It's like a sci-fi version of Van Gogh's Starry Night almost. It's
that's
like,
right.
yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's the last
right.
issue of Contact Comics, and that one is phenomenally awesome. Yeah, so I mean, I have a handful of Cole books. He's my favorite. It's hard to say an artist is your favorite when you don't own any of their work. So now this is the first Schoenberg cover I own. So you know, he's always been one of my favorite artists, but it's not like you can just go to a local comic shop and pick up a Schoenberg cover. So
don't we wish?
Yeah, even the cheapest ones of his in beat up condition are several $100s. So
yeah, there are no cheap.
Yeah, so that's the first Schoenberg I own.
The only cheap Schoenberg is that Invaders Annual 1, which was when he did it, when he was already in his 80s. He did a cover. That was it.
Oh, okay. I'm not even aware of that one. He did some covers of some pulps too. Some fantasy science, science fantasy magazines, and some pulps and stuff.
I used to have one or two of Schoenberg's pulps, but I don't think I have them anymore. I think I sold those sometime back. To my chagrin, much to my chagrin.
Those science fantasies come up for auction quite a bit. There's still quite a few of those floating around.
The pulp magazine ones, you mean?
Yeah, the pulp science fantasies. Yeah.
They
come up quite a bit.
Well, there's a lot of pulps that have Schoenberg covers that most people don't know are Schoenberg covers. A lot of times his signature, a lot of those have painted covers, and on the paintings he wrote his name or signed it on the very bottom. And a lot of time on the pulps, with the covers overhang, the bottom is completely either tattered or bent over, and a lot of times you can't even see the signature. And some of his stuff in the pulps doesn't even have his signature on it. So there's if you go to some like book site like a Library of Congress or somebody that lists like works by artists, you type him in, you'll see all these works he's done. You can go look on eBay or elsewhere and you'll find a whole bunch of them for cheap, and they're not even listed by the sellers as Schoenberg covers, even though they are. So yeah, if you just are a super hardcore Schoenberg fanatic, you can go find a lot of his stuff for cheap. Now, you're not going to find some of the top comic books, but there's a lot of his work out there you can pick up pretty cheap.
And you can recognize a super hardcore Schoenberg addict because he's usually walking around pantsless, scratching his arms. So just outside of cons, waiting somebody to drop some.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I had to choose between this and pants, this wins every time. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man.
I understand. I think we all understand.
Pants are just overrated. I mean, I'm a shorts guy myself, so you know, I own probably 30 pair of shorts and 10 pair of pants. I don't want to get back into the pant discussion. Right?
No, me neither. No, I was going to ask you though, DS. You had showed that the Bingo comic, and I was wondering. You said that you ended up getting a good deal on it. So does that mean that you actually like attempted to get a good deal, or there was just already priced at a fair price? I'm trying to see if you negotiated at all.
All right, I see where you're going with it. I did a little bub action. It had a price on it. I talked him down a little bit from that, but the price he had on it was already so low that there wasn't a lot more room to go lower. So I took, I offered him less than what it was, and he's like, "Yeah, right, whatever." So, yeah, this one I got for peanuts compared to the other one. And this one is actually more rare than this one, I think. The Bingo is more rare than the Terrific. Obviously, not the same caliber book, but yeah. And I've showed this. I put this on my Instagram, and some other people have seen it, and they're like, "Wow, I've never even seen that one before." So yeah, it's just not something you ever see.
What about that staple on the top staple on the left? It looked like it's going through the book. Is that something that was typical at that time?
Well, this is the stapling and manufacturing process back in the 40s was not the best. This is a publisher named H.C. Blackerby, H.C. Blackerby, and they were only in business for a few years. They published a couple comics, which were all #1s, and they ended up just being one-shots, and the company stopped publishing and went out of business or whatever. So they only published a couple things over a couple of years, and this was one of them. And this, so the process, this just has a single staple in it, but it's not rusty. It's fully attached. A lot of times you'll see, even up into the Silver Age, you'll see Silver Age X-Men books even with a single staple. So that's fairly common back then. You know, whatever staples it was manufactured with, if they're present and attached, it doesn't affect the grade. It's just, you know, some of these old books were stapled weird.
Well, they were trying to save, you know, metal also, because even though this is probably right at the end of the World War II, and they were trying to save metal in any way, shape, or form. So
right, I think this is 44 or 45, so towards the end anyway.
Yeah,
does it only have one staple altogether? It's only got one?
Yeah, this only has one staple. There's no other staple holes. And this book, you know, I'll put it a little closer. Maybe you can get a better look at it here. I guess it's easier to see it on top. It's in really nice shape. There's not really even any damage to the spine. There's just that one staple. There's no other staple holes, nothing missing. And it's just a really, really sharp copy of this book. It's almost like it was just put away for 50 years and then taken back out, and it's, you know, slightly tanned around the edges, but there's no staining, there's no creases on this cover, there's no spine dings. I mean, this is an exceptional shape.
Yeah,
you know, the page quality, and there's some dirt and just some very slight wear around the edges, rounding on the corners on the spine. You know, I would put this in the fine range. This is probably a 6.5 actually, so it's just phenomenally high grade for a book from back then.
That looks beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous.
I actually
those. Yeah, I was just gonna say those in the chat agree. Everyone's really impressed with it. We got JPL Flash Comics and Geekdoms, Evan Genome Presents, Probe 186. Everybody just thinks it's beautiful, and I agree. It's an awesome. Yeah. You know, I know it's probably not the way to be. I like the Schomburg cover. Probably best of those three, and then I like the Bingo LB Cole far more than I like the Suspense one. So like, it's funny because if it was my budget to spend, I would probably spend more on the Bingo than I would have on the Suspense. Not knowing the value or rarity of those things.
Well, yeah, the Bingo comics. I don't want to talk about what I paid for these, but this is peanuts. The Bingo comics. You know, I would just, if that popped up on eBay any day ever, I would just buy it. You know, even if I didn't have the money in the PayPal, it just come out. It's peanuts. I got that for. The Suspense comics is not a cheap book, but you know, it's in a few $100 range, which is a solid book. And then the Terrific is in the stratosphere compared to these other two.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat. I've been doing some other stuff here on my phone, and I've been ignoring the chat tonight. So appreciate everybody. I'm looking back through now. A lot of people made some comments. I appreciate everybody commenting and digging the stuff that I picked up. And I'm really glad to be able to share this with you guys. Before, if this would have been 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had anybody to share these books with. I would have just bought them and I would have had them and I would have enjoyed them. But now with the YouTube community and Bub and Metarog, I have this chat and I'm able to share these books with the community. It makes it much more enjoyable for me.
Well, and enjoyable for us, because you know, otherwise we wouldn't be able to see these either. I was going to ask you, DS, have you actually looked inside that Bingo comic?
No, I haven't opened it up yet. What I do when I get new books like this that are raw, I'll go through them once very carefully, but it's sort of a process. It's not like I can just crack it open at night while I'm drinking a cup of coffee and watching TV. I'll have to get it set up. I'll put...
you like candles? Do you pour a glass of wine? Or
no, it's like no candles. The last art ritual. You got to get a group together. You got to sing Kumbaya, the whole bit. Right?
No, I've got a little no candles. Nothing that generates any.
No candles, no light. Okay, gotcha.
No incense, no candles, nothing around my books. But I'll have the lights that I'm using now, and then I have a little handheld light that I'll use. And it's one of those ones, like cheap ones you buy at 7-Eleven. It's like you put it in the closet, and it's got a magnetic back, and it pops up and down. I'll have one of those, and then I'll have a nice flat surface. I'll wash my hands, and I don't usually wear gloves when I do it. For an old book, it's not going to make that much difference. But I'll go through it carefully and look for restoration and just read the story and check it out, and that'll be it. Once I'm done, I'll rebag and board it, and it'll go up, and that'll be that.
Yeah, the reason I was asking you is that I actually was researching this book years ago when I was doing my one-shot publisher collection.
Yeah.
And there are three. Blackerby did 3 comics: Sharp Comics, Warrior Comics, and Bingo Comics. And they are, as far as I know, and that's why I wanted to ask you, they're all remaindered comics inside.
Right. So, yeah, this one is for sure. I don't know the other ones. I haven't researched this publisher, but Yeah, this one's
So-
got. It even has a. They even cheaped out. The back cover's blank, so they didn't even have
Right.
advertising. Just blank back cover.
So my understanding is what happened is that these were done by an art shop, which LB Cole was obviously part of, and that this company bought that art shop, but they didn't even have an artist, bullpen or anything like that. They just used the covers, and that they bought remaindered comics, the ones that were returned, and they put those covers on them, and that's how they sold them.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I did limited research. The inside collects other stories from other books,
Yep.
and I think only the cover art is original to this.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, LB Cole had sort of a weird career. He was not super sought after at the time. His stuff was deemed to be too esoteric and non-mainstream, and nobody was going after him for work. He wasn't like, oh, let's get Cole on this book. He wasn't. So I think he probably would have preferred to get a Schoenberg or Kirby or somebody, but
Or Bernard Bailey or somebody, yeah.
Yeah, Wolverton or something. But what they could afford was LB Cole. It's sort of ironic now to think that he was one of the cheaper artists to hire back then, but his stuff was seen as fringe. It wasn't didn't have the quality they liked back then.
Remember back in the 40s and 50s, that was a very conservative kind of time, and his were just very cutting edge, very psychedelic. And
right,
so,
yeah, they were psychedelic, exactly.
So when people, I mean, obviously the kids liked them, but in the secondary market, they were like, "Ooh, this is way beyond the pale." But what I also wanted to note is that well, you already stole my thunder. That he actually worked for various artist shops because he wasn't, he didn't have a steady.
Still there?
I think we lost Metarog.
I think we did too.
I'm sure it wasn't my equipment.
Job with one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up there. We were losing you there.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. There's some
we hear you
crackling,
now.
like a headphone jack was loose or something.
Yeah, we lost you for a minute there. We were going to send out a golden alert or whatever they call those things.
Amber alert. Hey, when you're my age, you send out a silver alert.
There you go. Silver alert. Awesome. Hello? I think mine's breaking up still. I think we lost him.
Okay. Well, anyway, I just finished the thought he was talking about. LB Cole did a lot of work for a lot of different shops and publishers and whatnot. And the guy was a hustler because he did a ton of work back then, but he sort of bounced around a lot. But he must have been quite a hustler because he was never out of work and he always found something. And he has tons of stuff. There's stuff. I have that anthology of LB Cole, and there's stuff in there that you would never even know it's him if you saw it. The Bingo comics you would recognize as his style of art, but that book is really thick, and he did a ton of work. He did some of the old men's magazines with the painted covers. He did some Classics Illustrated covers. He did all the stuff, these psychedelic type covers. He did really a lot of stuff. So that guy was quite busy, even if he wasn't one of the most sought after artists. He was one of the hardest working.
Yeah, he was very prolific, no doubt. Am I still breaking up?
You're back.
Okay, because now I hear a crackling noise here somewhere.
I was stretching.
I wonder if my phone is.
I was stretching.
Yeah, maybe I have to go to DS's Galaxy, whatever.
Well, I'm not sure where the crackling is originating. Is that on your end, Metarog, or?
I don't know. I hear it, but I don't know if it's.
It almost seems like it's on Bub's end.
It might be Bub.
Could be me. I don't know. Hold on. There you go. I think I fixed it.
Oh, yeah. That sounds a lot better.
Oh, man.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry. What were we talking about? Oh, we got
bad because I'm bad at the chat. Genome Presents says, Simon Comics popped in, says, what are you guys talking about?
Oh. Simon, we're talking about your wheelhouse. We're talking about Golden Age artists over here. So not Joe Simon though, but.
And then Genome Presents says, to fill the void, it's a requirement to read the Pam Anderson book in slow-mo. So there you go. We'll start with the top down. And you're welcome, YouTube. There's the Pam Anderson book in slow-mo. If you like that one, here's the Tragic Goddess. These pop comics, they came out with a few of these unauthorized biographies. And here's Marilyn Monroe, Tragic Goddess there. You got the Jumpin' Joe on there. That's nice. There you go. That's the first issue, by the way. So that's obviously a collector's item, considering there's no further issues.
Oh, one of those, huh?
And did you just show the one with the King Kong cover?
Yeah, I got the King Kong. I forget who put that out.
Okay.
Monster Comics.
Is that a Dave Stevens cover? I think it's a Dave Stevens cover.
Let me see. I put that up when we were talking about hairy arms. I thought it was appropriate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a Dave Stevens. There's a DS right there.
Okay.
Hey, I think we just found out that DS Comics is actually Dave Stevens.
Hey,
all right. I love your art. So I love your art. Didn't you die several years ago? Didn't you die several years ago? Were you resurrected at some point?
Well,
no, he lost his Razor phone. Don't you remember? He lost his phone.
Right. That's right.
And he was incommunicado because nobody could hear from the speaker was broken. So,
well, Metarog knows the secret of how my name came about, and I'm happy to share it on this channel. But I think he asked me, and I told him how I came up with that name. It's not very exciting.
Nope.
Metarog, go ahead. Tell everyone what the DS Comics stands
Go for it. Yeah.
Go for it, Metarog. Tell everybody what the DS Comics is.
I figured there was some kind of, I figured, right, when I asked him that, this stands for, Daryl Sutton or something, something, right? No, he says, it's just a random letters that I picked because I didn't want to, I wanted to sound like something, like it meant something, but it doesn't.
That's exactly right.
I was like, oh, that was a letdown.
I went with the it doesn't mean anything. I went with the early 2000 internet company procedure for picking a name. Just make something nonsensical that has no meaning, and there's your name. So yeah, just something random I just came up with.
Well, that works.
But yeah, the Dave Stevens cover. Dave Stevens is a very underrated artist from the 80s, and he has some really top-notch covers from the 80s that they're not available. They're mostly independent publishers, but top-notch work, and a lot of people don't know about them. If you're looking for some really rock-solid art, especially cover art, check out Dave Stevens from the 80s. He's got great stuff. He's got a Marilyn Monroe cover in that one title. That whole title is really solid too, and I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head now. Metarog, you might know what I'm talking about. It's got the blue superhero, blue suited super.
Not Miracle Man.
No, he's.
It's Nexus. No, that's Rude. That's Steve Rude.
No, Crossfire or
Crossfire. No, Crossfire is. Yeah. It might be Crossfire. Yeah.
Crossfire.
Mark Evanier wrote it. Yeah, Mark Evanier wrote it. But I don't remember if he did. I remember him from like the Rocketeer, and
Rocketeer is probably the biggest known one. And
his Sheena work. But I'm not too up on a lot of Dave Stevens art, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm gonna bring it up while we talk and see if I can.
Oh man, high tech! We're getting high tech again. Oh, we're scared.
Looking stuff up. Oh, look at this. Look at this Chromatech. Hey, so you know what? You want to know what I did on Saturday, guys?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I get
Chromatech.
I get a Chromatech. Say that 10 times. I got a text. I got a text from our buddy Deadpool 2323.
Oh yeah, what's he saying?
And he says, "Hey, Rod, you want to go do some hunting?" And I'm like, "Okay, I got a few hours on Saturday, So he comes and he picks me up, and he takes me to this country road down here, And there is a bookstore. I don't even know what the name of it is. This thing, Bub, it looks like a fire hazard, born. You pull up in front. There are holes in the fascia, and the foundation is tilted slightly a few degrees to the right. And I'm like, we're going in this place, And, yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, it's safe. So we walk in there, and it's a bookstore, like just with books and comics just strewn throughout. I mean, just there is a walkway, at least there's a little walkway, but there are comics on top of comics piles, comic boxes, books in bags and in open flapped boxes everywhere, And he's amazing, man. He starts digging through the stuff. He found a lot of good stuff. He found like some Eternals #1s and things like that.
Wow, that is a pretty good find.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you
I
not find anything?
I found a few things, like let me show you. I'll give you a sneak preview. I was going to do this on Thursday for the roundup, but nothing great. But for me, I like this stuff, right? But this guy, I just found a few filler Spider-Man here, right? But his prices were a little bit too high.
Oh, yeah.
But Deadpool 23 said, hey, you can negotiate with the guy, right? Well, but this guy's a tough negotiator. He Bub, I think you've heard about these guys that they're always crying about, oh, my business is going to close if you keep.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, that's not too cool with me. Like we're spending money here, and it's like we're doing him a favor.
Yeah.
I got these. He did have a 3 for $1 box, so I got this, and I got a Deathlock I was missing, and then I got this one here, which is I believe the first appearance of Kismet, but I'm not sure. I know it's part of the Star Blast storyline. And then, Deadpool 23 bought this one for $4 and he sold it to me at cost. This is the
what a nice guy.
yeah. The first cameo of Carnage is in there. Yeah, you see it. You see his hand and he talks and the whole bit. So, and that was, I'm not buying it because of that. It was missing in my run. I have now the whole Carnage thing. And then this is the one I really liked. Because you know me in the obscurities, right? So this is,
I like that a lot.
Isn't that, this is a cool 3-issue, again, remaindered comics. These were all comics from 1981 that were bound. And I used to go to this Lionel Play World. I don't know if these were around everywhere, but they were in South Florida. And that's where I used to get my toys and stuff when I was a wee little Metarog. And there are 3 of these comics. There's one that has a bluish cover and one that has like a pinkish cover. This is #1. There's 2 and 3. So now I'm only missing 2 and 3. And he gave me this for $2, and this goes for about like 20 or so. I mean, it has
I've never even seen that before. That's cool.
Yeah,
it looks thick too. Is that a square bound or something?
It is. Yeah, it's square bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
That's cool.
So anyway, so that's what we went to several other places and stuff, but that was the only one that really had anything, back issue wise, you know what I mean? But we went to garage sales. We tried everything. And we probably spent like 3.5 hours together. But he got some good stuff. He really did he's a incredible hunter, man. Anybody wants to hit the good honey holes, go with Deadpool 23.
Definitely. That sounds like fun. I'm glad you guys had a good time.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We're gonna do it again, at some point. And actually I got contacted by Night Tiger. He wants to go to this big flea market that we have about an hour away from me and hunt there, but I got to find the time for that.
A little far off the reserve.
You sound like a robot. What was that?
I said, is it a little far off the reserve for you?
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere, Bub. This is really in the middle of it. It's at a place called Webster, Florida.
Oh boy, isn't that where they make dictionaries?
No, they make they. I think it's known for more for housing steers.
How's steers?
Steers, like beef steers.
It's getting deep here.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
well, that's good.
So anyway, I just thought I'd share that little find there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Bub, you're having some. I think the technical problems on your side, Bub. It sounds like maybe the headphone jack's not all the way in, or the wires jacked around, or something, because you're breaking up and staticky now.
I'm getting tired of hearing you guys fuss at me.
You sounded good there.
Yeah. So here's what it is. I switched to a Bluetooth headset so that I wouldn't be tied to the desk. But it turns out if I get like more than 1 foot from the desk, it starts to mess up. So I'm still tied to the desk. And I have an invisible chain now, which is almost more problematic than knowing how far you can go with the cord. Now I don't know how far I can go, but it just randomly starts cutting out, I guess. That's what's going on. Are you there?
We're here. Yeah, we hear you. I mean, I don't really have any comment. I think this is the problem with technology. Sometimes you get really advanced stuff, and then the slightest issue becomes a big issue. So I have mine plugged in a physical cord. If I back away too far, the headphone just pulls out of my ear. That's minor compared to not knowing how long my chain is. So, yeah, I don't know.
Hey, we got a question from Pope Cerebus. He wants to know what the ROM keys are. Because I'm showing a ROM over here. I don't know about you guys. The only one I know, obviously, ROM number 1 is his first appearance, and 17 and 18 are crossovers with the X-Men, and those are the only ones I know about. Pope. So, if anybody else knows any others, you let me know.
I don't know, but that spot in your line has been a hotbed of activity. You had a Kool-Aid man up there earlier. And I forget who. It might have been Genome Presents saying that he was stealing the tagline from Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
He was going, "Oh yeah."
I got this at that same store. I forgot to tell you. He wanted $5 for this, and it's in perfect condition. It's in perfect condition, by the way. But he wanted $5, and I said, $3. And he was like, "Oh, you're killing me. You're going to put me out of business." I go, "Come on, man, give me a break." This is. I had about 10 other promo comics. He wanted $5 a piece for them, and I said, I said, look, I picked these up in dollar bins, dude. I didn't say it that way. I didn't say it so facetiously, but and he wouldn't come down.
Are you sure you didn't say it that way?
No, I'm sure. I was respectful. I'm irreverent here, but I'm respectful normally, right? But he would not budge. I mean, he said, well, finally, he said, "Oh, okay, I guess I can do that for $3." But it's a beautiful comic, and there's only 3 in this series, and I picked up the first one at Deadpool's house, which is number 2. And then I got this one with Deadpool at that place. Now I need number 3 somewhere.
Did Deadpool know that you picked that up, or did you just kind of walk out with it?
No. He knew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Metarog, if I would have known you 5 years ago, I had a near mint plus copy of that, which I ended up throwing in a package and selling. I had a bunch of promos from the 80s that you would have really loved, and they were all in mint condition. And when I sold off my thousands of comics over the last 4 years ago or whatever, I had a whole bunch of promos, including that one. I had a whole bunch of those public service message ones, like "Don't do drugs, kids" type messages with the X-Men and Spider-Man. There was a whole bunch of them Marvel did in the 80s. I had a whole stack of those. I don't know if they were a series or a set, but
I think that's a Romita cover too. I mean, maybe somebody in the chat is better. I'm not really good at identifying Romita, but that looks like Romita to me.
I love those promo comics. If you come up with any doubles or triples or quadruples, I'll buy them off you for half value. Doesn't hurt me at all.
You're awesome, Bub.
I know, but I'll still do it for you. Yeah, half value. Half value. As long as I get to set the value, then
I was going to say, who's going to set the value there? Because Actually, this one can sell for like $10 online, so I think I got a fair deal on it.
Well, you were just talking about kind of shops costing too much, and that Facebook haul that I had where I stumbled upon a closed comic shop that was basically all in a box truck in this guy's backyard. I ended up, this was one of the books that I pulled out of there. And so what I did was I went through, and every book that had a decent price tag on it, like this one was $14.99 he wanted for this book.
Right.
It's not, I don't think it's worth that. I'm sure you could probably pick this up for $5 or less.
Oh yeah.
It's an awesome cover and I love it, but it's not worth that. So I went through and picked up every book that he had high priced. And then when I started pricing it, when I got home, most of them weren't even worth half what he was asking for. So then you kind of wonder why he went out of business, and you're like, nah, maybe you don't wonder.
No, you don't wonder. Exactly.
He's asking $15 for this. And it seemed like their pricing scheme just went like anything that's not a modern book must be worth a lot of money to somebody. So we'll put 10 or 15 bucks on it. And basically anything from the Bronze Age was 15 bucks. And then things from the Silver Age were like $50. Like, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
You know, so there you go.
I see a lot of that type
of price yourself right out.
Yeah. And I think that's a burn cover there that you got there. Maybe the first appearance of Swarm. I'm not sure, but
probably again, it says introducing Swarm, but really, I mean, I don't think that's. No one's looking for the Swarm movie.
No, he appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man a few times, and a couple times after that, but not a major villain in any way, shape, or form.
I really like the Black Widow and the Ghost Rider together on the cover. That was one of the things that I thought was really awesome about it. So once I got it, and I was like, it's not worth that much. Probably not worth reselling, and I like it, so I just kept it.
Yeah, that is. I'm pretty sure that is a burn cover there, but it's hard to tell. I have mine here somewhere. I guess I can look it up. But that Champions run is actually not a bad run. I mean, it had a lot of writers and a lot of artists, but I still enjoyed it, even though it was a little disjointed.
Yeah, if you want to see, I've located that. Just I've got that Dave Stevens while there was a little lull there. And I'll hold this up. This is what I think is one of my favorite covers from the 80s. And I just brought up my phone. I don't know if that's going to show up. But it's Crossfire number 12, and that's a Dave Stevens cover. And I guess that's
Marilyn Monroe, right?
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe in the bed. And just the quality of art that Dave Stevens put out in the 80s, it's top notch. I mean, look at how the sheet's drawn, how the woman's drawn, just the layout of it, the colors, just the line work. It's just phenomenal artist. He's really underrated, and this is one of my favorite pieces by him. Really surprised he doesn't get more attention, but he's a phenomenal artist from the 80s, and more people should check him out, I think. So anyway, this is the one I was talking about there.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I must say I don't think I've ever seen that. So thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful. Marilyn Monroe fan, they gotta have that.
Marilyn Monroe is working for me.
Yeah, he's mostly well known for that Rocketeer, but he did the Crossfire and a couple other things. I don't know. I think he did Alien Worlds and some. I think his Airboy covers from the 80s were pretty popular.
Yeah, I remember
those. People recognize those with Valkyrie on the front. And,
he did a few 3D covers that were really cool too. I'm trying to remember I remember it because I used to have them, but it was jungle action, jungle type comics. But
and there's a couple hidden gems by him because there's more than one. There might be a few of them where it's a comic book that he's not associated with, and he didn't do the cover art, but he did a piece that's on the back cover of the book. And so if you see a copy of that, you need to flip it over on the back cover. It's like a secondary cover. It's not exactly a flip book, but it's the same sort of thing on the back. The back cover is a cover image done by Dave Stevens that really has nothing to do with the comic itself, but it's an awesome gem if you find it. So I don't know off the top of my head. I have to research it, but
I'll keep an eye when I'm hunting through the bins.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is a beautiful cover there, I have to admit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Here's another one of those great $14.99 comics that the defunct shop was selling.
Oh,
Creatures on the Loose featuring Man-Wolf number 30. You can't tell me that's a $15 comic, and it's not even in great condition. There's quite a few chips. Of course, it has a Marvel chipping all over it on the side, but then it also has a chip out of there, a rip in the bottom, and the spine is more than stressed. The spine needs to go to rehab. It's pretty rough. But
yeah, that's an awesome cover, though. I really like that. Who's the artist on that?
Let me see if I can find it.
I really like that one. Obviously, I mean, the horror theme stuff I liked the most, but I mean, that's cool. I like that a lot, especially.
Well, you guys, I like those werewolves.
Yeah, he's got the full moon behind him and the two people cowering in the front. That's what's a nice horror cover.
Yeah, check make sure it has see if it has a value stamp too.
Oh, is there a value stamp to this book? See, this is before I was collecting anything with value stamps. Looks like it says, let's see. I don't know. Would it say, like it says George Tuska as the artist?
That's the interior?
Yeah, I mean.
No, that doesn't look like a Tuska cover to me.
Yeah, where would it say the cover artist? It doesn't, does it?
Some do, some don't. Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, this one doesn't say, and I can't find the writing anywhere. I can't find
sometimes it just says artist, writer, editor, and it doesn't list who the cover artist is. And sometimes there's a signature you can recognize, and sometimes there's not. I'm not an expert in determining that, but sometimes a lot of the signatures are recognizable on the front cover. They're just not always there.
You're the expert in recognizing it. What are you talking about?
It says here that it's Gil Kane and John Romita inks. That doesn't look like Gil Kane to me, though. That Romita, yes. The girl is definitely Romita.
You're talking about the man wolf?
Yeah. That girl looks.
See by the hair. That does look like Romita.
Yeah, but that does not look like Gil Kane to me. It just does not.
Maybe he drew this part and Kane drew that.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did some touch-ups or something, but that does not look like Gil Kane at all.
And Iceman's in there, so it's got the Marvel value stamp.
Okay, good.
Still not a $15 book.
Oh no, heck no.
These, I think, were the only two books that I kept outside of the runs I was collecting at that time from that haul. And I couldn't part with them. This one I just like so well. It's just awesome. And that man wolf, I had never even heard of that character at the time. I was like, that is awesome. And just thought it was great. So
yeah, I remember buying that off the stands, and I was shocked that they gave him his own comic because he was a villain in Amazing Spider-Man 125, 124, 125. John Jameson, his Jonah Jameson's son. And I was like, what is he doing in his own comic book? Well,
what year is that? That's I can't tell.
74, I would think. 75, somewhere.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe late 70s, but it's a 25 center, so like mid 70s. You're saying that around probably
74, 75. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean they blew out a ton of horror themed stuff back in the 70s, so they threw anything they could up against the wall to see if it would stick because the horror was pretty popular. I mean, I still come across when I'm searching, I'll come across some Bronze Age Marvel or DC that have particularly Marvel that have some character or some horror title that I have never even heard of, and they just did a few issues or something.
You mean like the reprint titles or the newer or the new stories titles?
No, like this one's Man Wolf. I've heard of Man Wolf, but I'm not really familiar with that title. But there's some other titles that Marvel did, like horror themed titles back in the 70s that I still come across ones, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I've even heard of that one before.
Well, you got the big three. I mean, you got Frankenstein, you got Dracula, and you got Werewolf by Night. And then you also have Supernatural Thrillers, which was started as an anthology, and then it got taken over by The Living Mummy. And then, of course, you have some fringe ones that came around. But mostly those are the like a lot of people will say like Marvel Spotlight, they put obviously Werewolf by Night too. And then you would see some fringe stuff, but most of the horror stuff were those three, the big three. Unless you want to count like Man Thing.
I would almost put in, what do you think about Spider-Woman as far as being on the mystical side of things when they brought her in? She was, to me, kind of a Bronze Age horror throw-in.
Well, she did fight a lot of horror-like villains, like the Shroud, Werewolf by Night, the Needle, villains that had supernatural twists to them. Like I think there was like a cult of Kali or something like that. Yeah. But you're right; they did have a lot of mystical type themes in that comic.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. I really like bronze horror books. and then Golden Age horror books, and I'm not really into anything Silver Age anymore at all, which is, I don't know, it is what it is, but I really like the Bronze Age horror books a lot. So yeah, those werewolf ones, Man Wolf, Werewolf by Night, that's all cool stuff. I like it.
You should check out the supernatural thrillers. That was actually a pretty underrated run. You can get it for cheap too.
Yeah, I've looked into that. I don't currently own any, but I'll pick up some of those at some point. I like the Living Mummy. The Frankenstein stuff is cool.
Let me see if I can.
I generally go for artists from the Bronze Age horror. I usually look for particular artists and covers. Than I do characters or issue numbers, like the number 1 or anything. Like I really go after Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson.
Right.
Although they don't, not much Marvel from Bernie Wrightson, obviously, but
Let me see
Romita does some good bronze horror stuff that's worth picking up. So he's on my list of bronze horror books to pick up. And then of course Plug. I like Nick Cardy, and I was talking to Bub about some of these artists. I like Luis Dominguez a lot. He's one of my favorite bronze artists for horror.
Oh yeah.
I like Plug. I was going to give you back Cardi for Plug.
Nick Cardy and Luis Dominguez are 2 of the most underrated Bronze Age artists. Cardy, not as much. He's pretty well known as a pretty solid artist from the Bronze Age. But Luis Dominguez, not a lot of people have even heard of him, and he has some phenomenal work in the Bronze Age.
What does this remind you of?
Let's see.
That's the Swamp Man Thing by Neil Adams.
Notice it says The Thing That Couldn't Die.
Oh yeah, okay, I see it now. Yeah.
Theodore Sturgeon. It's an adaptation of Theodore Sturgeon's short tale.
Okay, yeah, I had a Supernatural, The Worm, the one on the back you're showing that you just
right there. That's a Gil Kane cover. No doubt.
Yeah, I had that one, but it was really low grade. I sold it off with I can't remember what else. I had a set of a House of Mystery and that and something else I sold as a set a while ago. But
yeah, hold on, I'm going to get number 2. I don't know why I didn't bag this separately. And there's
the whole Man Thing, Swamp Thing. There's a lot of those similar type characters that were sort of like fighting for concept space and ultimately ended up being the Swamp Thing and the Man Thing. But early on, there was a lot of different stuff on different comics by different artists that all sort of looked like Swamp Thing, Man Thing stuff.
Yeah,
I think they refer to it as the Algae Age. If you're wondering,
I'll give you a prop for that one.
Yeah, there was a lot of like mossy type monsters in the swamps and back then.
Yeah, they also had like the heap. The heap was what even started back in the Golden Age.
Oh yeah, the heap's really back there.
Here's an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Robert Louis Stevenson. Again, Marvel. I don't know how they got the license to this stuff, but they did.
I'm sure it was pretty cheap.
Yeah, I guess it was.
A lot of that. There wasn't a medium at that time that was hungry for these characters, so why not make a little bit of money on the side? Plus, if it was just publishing rights and not any kind of other media rights, then that had to have been going pretty cheap at the time.
Here's a Headless Horseman, sort of I guess, like Sleepy Hollow. I mean, kind of. I don't remember reading this, so I don't remember exactly what the story is. But not a bad looking cover, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty cool. I like that skull throwing down too. That's pretty neat. I like that a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of comic covers over the years that have had a Headless Horseman on it. But that's the first one I've seen where he's throwing a flaming skull at somebody from the horse. So I guess is that his head he's taken off?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, all over.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that's cool.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the horse. It looks too normal. It does have a white eye. See that?
Yeah, I really like that head flaming down. I think that's awesome.
You have a little star so cool. on the horse. It's like, is that smoke nostril? I guess so.
Yeah.
And then after this started the. Actually, no. There was one other appearance of the mummy. Where's the one? Oh, here it is. First living mummy. That's his first appearance there. and then Headless Horse is regular series 7.
Yeah, did we lose Metarog again, Bub?
Well, he's coming in and out, and you can't blame me because I've been sitting in the same spot. I haven't moved.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got a wireless thing too, and he's got an invisible chain.
No,
sounds like a good bar song or something, you know.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
I got you now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just showing this whole run for you.
Yeah, I was going through my run of Capwolf for Genome Presents. He was mentioning them in the chat, and I was looking at. This is one of my favorite covers, of course, because it's got Capwolf, Wolverine, Werewolf by Night. Actually, that's Werewolf by Night. Even though I hate that version of Werewolf by Night, I really like his classic version where he's much more of a man with kind of just a traditional wolf man as opposed to like a beast like that. And then I don't know who that is, Feral maybe, and I'm not sure who's in the background there. So I like that one a lot. That's one of my favorite covers group. I
like this one because it kind of has horror and war theme. So I don't think my Area 51's in here anymore, but this one, that's a cool. It's like you don't see too many covers where you're seeing the back of the main character, and here you don't see the front. It's all the back, and you see the gun shots going through him here. I think this is Gil Kane too.
Well, Metarog, are you a fan of the? I mean, I'm sure you like it. I don't know how many of them you have or whatever, but of the Weird War Tales.
Yeah, I don't have that many, but I am. But the only thing with the Weird War Tales is that
I wouldn't ask him that question again.
What?
He's deared on us.
Oh, did I disappear?
Sure, he's answering. We just don't know.
No, I can hear him.
I couldn't hear him at all.
Oh boy. Well, maybe that you're tuning me out there, Bub.
Not on purpose.
Oh. Not on purpose. The only thing with the Weird War Tales, I was just answering DS's question, is that there wasn't a whole lot of variety. It usually was the same kind of theme over and over. You know, the horrors of war, the evil person in the war would get, hit up by some kind of phantom or curse or something. And so, but the art I did like, but the stories were substandard in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, the art's definitely eye-catching, especially the cover art. I haven't read any of those, so I don't know. I'll take your word for it that they're sort of repetitive subject matter, but that's one of those ones that meshes war with horror. So I just threw that out there.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I have some of them. I could dig them out, but again, I didn't feel the need to collect it because that's a long run. I mean, it's like 100 some issues.
That title went on for a really long time.
For a while,
10 years probably, right? 8 to 10 years or something.
And let me just finish up this run. It only went, I think, 15 issues. But I rarely see anybody talking about this, but this was actually a pretty good. Of course,
I actually never heard of it. I knew there was a mummy character, but I had never actually seen a standalone book with him in it.
Right. Well, and you're gonna like it, Bub, because he doesn't talk. He's like the man thing, He doesn't really talk. He like a little bit here, but he doesn't really talk. So everything is around the supporting characters. I don't know if you like that. I do those kind of weird comics where they do those kind of third person storytelling. I just like the kind of mental gymnastics to go with that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about the Werewolf by Night series. Of course, I'm still in the Jerry Conway portion where he was writing, and I really enjoy that kind of. A lot of it's done in a kind of journal style. From Jack Russell's perspective, he talks about, I won't go into how I figured this out, but it turned out that at the time, and then they'll show the panels, So I do enjoy that storytelling quite a bit. Well, cool, guys. I think it's time we get into our first question for the night. First topic.
Yeah, I didn't know we had topics. I didn't know we had topics for tonight, but this has been a phenomenal chat. I've really enjoyed talking about it, and it looks like JPL Flash is saying that we are showing so many good books tonight. I feel like we have shown a lot of books tonight compared to usual.
Yeah, we've been flipping through them for sure. Yeah. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's been great. I seeing that terrific 5. If the chat would have stopped at that point, it would have been a great chat. But it's kept going, and you're right. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, I don't have as much stuff at hand that I can reach as you guys do, so I sort of depend on you guys to throw out the good books throughout the chat. But I have the ones I showed earlier today in my video. I have those close, so those are the ones I'm showing. But you guys have all access to all that stuff behind you, so it's awesome.
Well, I got 90% access, but yeah.
I can only go as far as my invisible chain will allow. And speaking of which, it's getting tugged right now. We're gonna go ahead and close up shop for the night. We try and keep it short. Everyone, I know.
That doesn't sound like an invisible chain's getting tugged. That sounds like your actual chain's getting tugged there.
I don't mind that so much. So easy. Look, that's a new record. An hour and 15 minutes to get into the gutter.
Well, I put us in the gutter early with the whole pants discussion. Whatever.
So anyway. And DS Comics for putting up with me again for another night and regaling me with your exploits at the con and Metarog's weekend excursions. Thank you so much for sharing some of your comic hunting and knowledge and experience with the rest of us schlubs. And may all your collecting be bright and merry.
You're a few months early for that one, Bub.
Oh, I'm ready.
You're ready.
Let's roll in. Let's get fall rolling. It's where I'm at. It's hot and cold all the time, so I'm ready for it to just stay cold.
Oh, it's just hot here. Today I got up to 96, so I was like, what?
That's no good.
No, I'm ready for fall, definitely.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. Well, have a great night. Thank you to everyone who joined us in this chat. And say goodnight, DS. We haven't heard from you. Say goodnight.
All right. I'll see you all later. Wonderful chat again. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Hey, DS, stay on after for a minor second.
All right.
And I want DS to sign off with the classic line from this villain's boss, if you will, and then I'm going to end it. So go for it, DS.
I'm not sure what line you're looking for.
What's the MCP say?
Oh, end of line.